All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the All Sports, All Plays Network. My name's Will Polson. Alongside with me is Nate the Great, and we are here to bring you our post-game show for the afternoon games. And wow, what a collection of games, I tell you what. Some that made me happy, some that made me sad, and we're going to get into that a little bit. But Nate, how you doing tonight? How you feeling about it after watching those games?
I'm excited to get things talking about, and I'm also happy that after 16 years that New England Patriots, and that's math speaking, are finally out and eliminated. So I'm happy about some games, and I'm with you. There's some that disappointed me as well.
Tell you what, and as a person who is not a fan of the Patriots, it's nice to have a breath of fresh air in the playoffs. I tell you what, congratulations to the Buffalo Bills clinching it for the first time in 25 years. But we're not here to talk about those games. We're here to talk about the games in the afternoon hour for today. Let's get started off with my favorite. Oh boy, the New York Jets. What a team. Man, I tell you, the New York Jets have conceded the number one overall pick and have officially won a game. Congratulations to them. 23-20 over what was the leader of the NFC West in the Los Angeles Rams. And they have fallen to the Jets for their fifth loss of the season, going to 9-5. Before I go off, because I'm going to go off. Let's hear what you have to say about the Jets finally getting a win this season.
People like to say that the Arizona Cardinals are a Jekyll and Hyde team. This is a Jekyll and Hyde quarterback in Jared Goff. So there's days that he has great games, like a few weeks ago, and then there's games like today where he had an off day. And I thought that today was going to be one of those off days. But I didn't expect a loss, and Ace, he said that the New England Patriots before the season started, that the New York Jets before the season started was going to go 1-15, one win, the rest of the games were a loss, and if this season ends up loss for the remaining of New York Jets games, then he gets that pick correct.
It's absolutely crazy. If you would have told me that the Jets were only going to have one win and you told me that it was going to be to the Los Angeles Rams, I'd look at you like you were an idiot. And I'm the biggest Jared Goff skeptic skeptic in the world. And I was just like, are you kidding me? I mean, this game had me jumping for joy at work. I'm not even going to lie. I'm sorry, Jets fans. I don't care what quarterback you get. I really don't. Okay, they're both going to be good. At least they're both playing phenomenal in college. They both look like franchise-changing quarterbacks. You're getting a good answer either way. This only made me feel great. Warning, rant in progress, because this is about to go bad on Jared Goff. This man has proven me right. I said he is the most inconsistent quarterback in the league. I said he's a bum. I've come on here on my own show, on this show, on Real Talk, on Sports Minute. Everybody knows, if you have stepped foot as a part of this network and have seen me live, that me and Jared Goff don't get along. I still want to punch. Okay, let me rephrase that. I still want to box him for charity. I'm gonna say it in a nice way. I want to box him for the charity of his choice. We could sell tickets. Trust me, I promise you we could do that. But this guy, I was talking to a friend of mine as I was looking over the stats of this game, and a 23-20, you're thinking that it's a little bit of, an offensive shootout, or it's at least a close game. You got to think something's got to give. There's a reason why the Rams didn't beat them. I mean, is it the defense, is the offense? And I had a friend of mine trying to tell me that the defense is the reason the Rams lost this game. Now, the Rams held the Jets to under 200 passing yards and held them to under 100 rushing yards. This is not the defense's fault, folks. You can't go 22 of 34 for 209, 2 touchdowns and a pick against the Jets. Okay, Jared Goff so far this season has averaged 270 passing yards a game, and the Jets have averaged giving up 284 passing yards a game. And you're only going to drop 209. Don't tell me this isn't Goff's fault. Don't tell me that. He is terrible, okay? He is Jared Goof. He is Jared Goffle. I have said it multiple times, and I'll say it again. This is terrible. Like, the fact that you underperformed to this level is so intense. Like, I of all teams, I understand, some teams play down to their opponents, but the Rams typically aren't that team. And yes, Jared Goff is very flip-floppy, but this is like one of the worst defenses in the NFL. How do you not drop at least 250 passing yards? Like, I'm just blown away for the Rams' sake. I mean, the Rams used to be in St. Louis. I'm from a small town out in southern Illinois. I grew up about an hour and a half away from St. Louis. I mean, I love St. Louis sports to death. And I just I know they're not in St. Louis anymore, but I still try to root for them. They're still a team that was there. And I just can't do it as long as Goff's at quarterback. It's just so sad. But let's not talk about Jared Goff anymore. What a bum. I've talked about him enough. Let's talk about Sam Darnold. He came in, nice little game for him, 22 for 31, 207 and a touch. Nothing too spectacular, but didn't turn over the ball. The Jets in general didn't turn over the ball. Good ball security for the New York Jets. They also forced the interception of Jared Goff. Honestly, they didn't look bad that game. They didn't do anything to wow you, but they did enough to get it done. So let's get your opinion on how you think the Jets played in this one.
I'm going to give my game ball real quick. Mm-hmm. And normally I don't like to give it to quarterbacks because I feel like quarterbacks get too much credit. But I'm going to give it to Sam Darnold because he didn't throw a pick against the Rams defense. And that was another shocker as well. I thought he was going to turn over the ball over like at least 2 or 3 times this game, and the Rams were going to drop 40 on him. That was a shocker. So, congratulations, Sam Darnold. You are the first quarterback I will ever give a game ball to.
Man, I mean, whenever I'm looking at it, when you look at this Rams team has had one of the better defense, like one of the better defensive units all season. Yes. I mean, they've done phenomenal when it comes to stopping the run. They've had probably, arguably the best secondary in the NFL. It's just been nuts. They've been up there. I mean, obviously there's better units whenever it comes to interceptions and stuff like that, but still, this team has forced, from my stats, 21 turnovers on the season. And the one team you're not going to get a turnover from is the Jets. Oh, okay. All right. Mad props to the Jets. I'll give it to them. They definitely performed well over what I thought they were going to be. I thought this game was going to be a slaughter. Once I saw that who was it the other week? I want to say it was either last week or the week before. Whoever the Jets ended up beating, the Raiders. That's who it was. I figured if they're not going to beat the Raiders, they're not going to beat anybody. And I couldn't have written. If anybody scripted an NFL game, that would be me. Okay, I would script Jared Goff to lose to the winless Jets because it's perfection. It's just it's what I wanted for Christmas. But man, what a game! Let's move on into the next game. Oh, actually, before we do that, Seattle ended up winning this week as well. So now you're seeing Seattle get back to the top of the division. Do you see that? How is that how you see it ending out? Do you think Seattle's going to ride out on top and the Rams are going to take that top wild card spot, or what are you looking at for the NFC wild card?
If next week is as bad as this week for the Los Angeles Rams, then Seattle will take that spot. But if the Rams are like the games before today, then the Rams will take that top seed and Seattle will take the 5th seed.
I'll tell you what, I mean, wow. No, I understand where you're coming from, though. It's really hard after a team loses to a winless team to really have confidence in them. But we just saw Seattle spank the Jets, and I mean, terribly. I want to say by a difference of about 27 points, and then to lose, the guys who are in first place to come out and lose. Embarrassing. But let's move on to the next game, a very big game, especially for those of a couple of certain fans on our network, as well as in the NFC playoff picture. The Eagles were in Arizona to take on the Cardinals. An amazing game, honestly. Really came down to the wire, 26-33 with the final score in favor of the Cardinals. This was a very good back and forth matchup, a game that I didn't expect to be this close, but I'm almost refreshed that it is, and now it raises a lot of question marks in Philly. But let's start with Arizona first, since they took the W. Like I said, 33 points. Kyler Murray ended up going 27 for 36, 406 and 3 touchdowns, along with an interception. A very good game for Kyler Murray, and it's been a while since we've seen him really stand out and have a great game. So let's get your opinion on Kyler Murray and his performance tonight.
As soon as it was 16-0, I thought this game was over. I'm going to be honest with you. It was 16-0. Eagles did in the first quarter. And then the second quarter happened. 20-10, Eagles technically Eagles won that quarter. They obviously didn't win that game, but they won that second quarter. So, and I'm like, oh boy. This is going to get interesting. And now my curious question is, could you see Kyler Murray being in those MVP talks? I don't, but it's just a question for you.
When we've been talking about Kyler Murray, and this may sound kind of rude, but I've never had him in the MVP talks all season. I don't know what it is. I've never considered him up there to be in the top. I figured it's always been the Mahomes and Rodgers. Obviously, that's 1 and 2. Russell Wilson was in there for a little bit. I think Josh Allen still needs consideration. I think Derrick Henry still needs consideration. Kyler Murray is not in that top 5 list that I would think of off the top of my head. I know that at a point they were looking at him as number 2, but there's just something about him that I haven't bought into yet. He's an amazing athlete. He's a freak athlete, and he can do some pretty talented stuff with his arm and his legs. But this season, I didn't have him up there in the MVP talks, especially with the ways that Rodgers and Mahomes were playing. I figured it was just so significantly those two. I figured it was just so easily between those two. And whenever people were saying Russell Wilson, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, I get it. But once they took that skid and he started that losing streak, lost 4 of 5, it was pretty obvious that it was a 2-man race. And at that point, there was no coming back for anybody. I think there are too many good quarterbacks who have looked better than Murray this season, and I'm right there with Madison.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, I'm right there. Because like I said, I mean, Rodgers, Mahomes have been obvious. Russell Wilson started off amazing, easily an MVP candidate in the first couple of weeks, probably through about week 8 or so. Josh Allen's been playing very consistent all season. There's just been, to me, there's been too many names. Very good seasons by a lot of quarterbacks. Kyler Murray also having a very good season. Don't want to take anything away from him, but I just don't know if I'd give him MVP votes just from everybody else. But also at this point, I still wouldn't give Russell Wilson MVP votes. At this point, it really is, for me, it's a 2-headed race. And it was Mahomes the whole way until he threw 3 picks against Miami. And now I'm leaning Rodgers. It's just one of those. Rodgers is at the top of every category. But yeah, no, Kyler having a great season, but I wouldn't consider him for that. But Kyler could be doing one thing, and that's going to the postseason, which would be nice. A very much needed win for the Arizona Cardinals. They needed this one big, especially with the Bears. The Bears have won back-to-back games now. They are still sitting just outside of the number 7 spot, thanks to Arizona holding on to the win. They have sitting at number 8. Minnesota falls to number 9. So this was a desperate need, a win now mode game for the Cardinals, and they were able to pull it off. As you mentioned, getting off to a 16-0 start, you think that it's going to be all Cardinals the whole way. But let's flip the coin. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, because Jalen Hurts looked amazing. I mean, to completion percentage, not so much there, 28 for 44. So a lot of pass attempts. So not the greatest, but 338 yards and 3 TDs, no interceptions. Ball security was really good for him. Stayed poised throughout the game. Managed to make, able to make a comeback. You know, like we said, 16-0. You know, we're sitting there looking at it, going, "Oh, this is Cardinals game all the way." And then all of a sudden, we're looking at it with 10 seconds left, and it's coming down to the final. You know, a couple Hail Mary attempts. Like that speaks a lot for Jalen Hurts. So let's get your opinion on the Eagles today.
I have 2 things to say about this. This game has proved one thing. They should have started Hurts a long time ago. At maybe week 4 or 5, I would say that around then. And the second thing is, could you see Jalen Hurts being one of those quarterbacks like Colin Kaepernick or Lamar Jackson, that when people are starting to figure this guy out, he's not going to be as great as his rookie season?
I mean, that's a lot of mobile quarterbacks, and just from history, I think you'd have to say yes. At the end of the day, we're still only is this his second career start, third?
Yeah.
His second career start, and then came in relief that third game. You know, there's still not a lot of tape on him. There really isn't, and you know, it's not like he had a preseason, so you can't even go back and look at preseason snaps or anything like that. So you really are just banking off what you've seen, and no matter if they're winning or not, he's at least provided a spark. But we've seen this happen with multiple quarterbacks. We saw this happen with RG3, as you mentioned. RG3 came up, lit the league by storm. I mean, lit it on fire, absolutely turned it around. Next thing you know, you think the Washington football team is going to be the most amazing thing since sliced bread. All of a sudden, an injury happens. And even prior to his injury, his stats were significantly down, cut in half, maybe even worse. And then whenever you're looking at Lamar Jackson coming off of an MVP season this year, and then not playing anywhere near that level this year, not even in conversation. So to say that, like, I think it is a thing to where once you get film on you, you're definitely going to slow down a little bit. And that's why we have the sophomore slump. You know, that's why they call it that, you know, but it's just going to be how you bounce back. And right now, for the Eagles, I mean, this is at least a breath of fresh air. It's just, obviously it was too late. Like you mentioned, it's coming in a little bit too late. Obviously with the money wrapped up in Carson Wentz, it is hard to make that decision, especially with how he's played in the past. The win-loss record might not be there, but the stats are there. He's played very well in an Eagles uniform. So I could see why you'd be a little bit concerned, especially after paying him. You're thinking this is your franchise guy, and now all of a sudden you're going to bench him. There's been reports that if the Philadelphia Eagles wanted to stick with Jalen Hurts, that Carson Wentz may want out of there. And what's your take on that? Is that something you could see feasible? Do you blame Carson Wentz at all? Where is your head on that one?
I could definitely see that happening. I can see him going probably to the Indianapolis Colts. If not the Colts, I can also see the Patriots as well. Both teams really need a quarterback, especially if Philip Rivers is not going to stay in Indianapolis. He's on a 1-year contract, so I can definitely see Philip Rivers leaving after this year as well. Now I'm not saying that this is going to happen. Let's say Philip Rivers takes the Colts all the way to the Super Bowl. Then I can see Philip Rivers staying in Indianapolis and Carson Wentz going somewhere else.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Colts are going to be the team to take him.
I think the Colts make the most sense when you're looking at it. Obviously, they've got Phillip Rivers on a 1-year deal. They have T.Y. Hilton. They have a great running back core, an amazing offensive line, and a great defense as well. Honestly, it'd be a great fit to have a quarterback jump in. It's a nice team to try to get situated with. They could use another weapon other than T.Y. Hilton whenever it comes to the receiving core. Michael Pittman Jr. has been okay, but nothing to be flashy about, nothing to get too excited about. But the big thing for Carson Wentz is that he's going to be, if he were to go to Indianapolis, he'd be back with Frank Reich. And Frank Reich was there in the Eagles organization when Wentz was having those amazing seasons. And that would be huge for him. And I think that would be, that would provide a lot of comfortability for him. We've seen him play very well under Frank Reich's system, which would be an amazing fit. Honestly, if he doesn't get moved to Indianapolis, I don't know what team would take him. I know that, he's wrapped up in a lot of money. A lot of money's wrapped up in his name. The Eagles are going to take a big hit if they get rid of him, no matter what, whether they cut him or they trade him. It's going to be a financial situation for the Eagles that they probably don't want to be a part of. But at the same time, you don't want $110 million sitting on your bench. So it's an interesting situation for them, because even then, Jalen Hurts still won't have much tape on him going into next season. I mean, he'll have some games, but he won't have a lot. So it's interesting. It's a really weird situation for Philadelphia, because they have their franchise guy, and then they also have Jalen Hurts throwing a wrench in the whole thing. And there's a lot of teams this offseason that need a quarterback. And the only one really, if Phillip Rivers retires, the only one going on the free agent market is Dak Prescott. And we don't even know what Dak Prescott can do. He got hurt. We've seen him perform. And this year, going into prior to his injury, he had amazing statistics. But a lot of them came in the later parts of the game and in garbage time situations where you're passing from behind. And so are they inflated? Is this who Dak is? But there's many teams. There's San Francisco could use one. Obviously the Jets and the Jags are going to get theirs. But, I mean, Chicago needs one. San Francisco needs one. Detroit might need one because they're thinking about moving Matt Stafford. There's a ton of teams that need their next guy because their guy's old and get ready to move on, such as New Orleans, Pittsburgh, so on and so forth. It just keeps going. Obviously, quarterback is a hell of a position. You need it. I mean, it's one of the most, if not the most important position out there. And Carson Wentz has proven he can play. It's just, where is he going to play? And very interesting when you're looking at it, to be completely honest. But
another problem I had with Carson Wentz is that every single year, including that year that he did like really, really well, that Super Bowl year, every year since then, he has had at least one injury, including this year. Even though it didn't happen during the season, he had an injury, a minor one, heading into week 1. So it could be a team thing, like with Ryan Tannehill when he was with Miami, but it can also be a him thing. And I think if he goes into a different team this offseason, we can really give an answer to that question.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of. I mean, they say the NFL stands for not for long, and it's very unfortunate. But I mean, it's a very heavy physical contact sport, and Chris Brown, the Eagles fan on our network, has said it multiple times. Whenever he tore his ACL, it has nothing to do with Carson Wentz. Any grown man takes a helmet to the knee, you're gonna tear your ACL. I don't care who you are. There aren't many people who sit there and will come out okay with it. And that's a very much a nagging injury. Those are very hard to come back from, especially 100%. You don't see a lot of people come back and be the same, especially in a position that requires your legs, football being all of them, but even in other sports, tearing your ACL, it really slows down a lot of people, such as in basketball and baseball. You don't really see a lot of the same production. It's a very serious injury. Luckily, we have seen Carson Wentz come back, and he's played well, good enough to earn himself that big money contract. But the injuries does look like a problem. He is very injury prone. Every single year he's going down, he's missing games, and that's a problem. You can't have that, especially from your franchise quarterback. It's starting to look like that a little bit now with Jimmy Garoppolo too out in San Francisco. It seems like he gets hurt all the time. We've seen Nick Mullins, I think, every single season start at least one game since Garoppolo's come over there.
Well, outside of last year.
What's that?
Outside of last year.
Oh, okay. I thought Nick Mullins may have come in for one game, but if he's been over there, 3 seasons now? I know another quarterback has at least gotten one start in 2 of those 3 seasons, and it's concerning. If your quarterback's going down, there's a lot of variables to it. Could it be your offensive line? Could it be what is the situation? But I think once it continuously happens, I think we're starting to see that Wentz just really is a fragile guy. I mean, he's just been unfortunate. He's been caught up in a couple of bad situations, but that's just the game you play. I mean, that's the NFL. You sign up for it. You're playing a very, very physical sport. You're going to get nicked up. You're going to get hit. A lot of people have concussions that just stay in the game and they go undiagnosed, So it's a tough game, but they're tough guys. They're gonna figure out a way, and I have no doubt that Carson Wentz can figure it out too. So, going into the final afternoon game, a very entertaining game, especially because there was actually 2 quarterbacks in this game and not just one. We saw the return of Breezes himself, Mr. Drew Brees, came back to take on the Kansas City Chiefs in New Orleans, and Kansas City's able to take the victory 32-29. Starting with the Kansas City Chiefs. Almost perfect football. I mean, really, it really was a very good game. They played very clean. I want to say no turnovers on their end. Or no, they did lose one fumble. No other team has suffered more injuries like the 49ers that season. And that's very true. The 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles are both 2 teams suffering right now. So it's not great for either quarterback or the teams in general, and obviously we've seen them be injured. We know that these aren't the teams that they are. The Eagles aren't a 4-win team. The 49ers aren't a 5-win team. They were literally in the Super Bowl last year, so.
And I think.
What's that?
5-9. That's their record.
Oh, they have 5. Yeah. So it's like this isn't the teams that they are. It's one of those. If San Francisco's healthy, they're at least a 7. I mean, they went to the Super Bowl last year. I mean, how much more do you need to defend them? The Eagles are typically a very good team as well. They've lost so many pieces. Granted, they have a couple of aging pieces that really need to be replaced, but they're typically a very good team, and their whole entire offensive line has gone down. I mean, it's really banking on a 98-year-old Jason Peters. It's just not good. It's not a good situation for either team. But like I said, the Chiefs and 49ers, or the Chiefs and not the 49ers, the Chiefs and the Saints, 32-29 in favor of the Chiefs. Played a very good game whenever it came down to it. Nate, let's get your opinion on that.
I didn't like that Drew Brees had come back this early. I thought that he should have waited until playoffs had actually started, because the Saints were already in. They've already clinched that berth. And so Hill probably should have started just in case if Drew Brees goes down with another injury like that again. He suffered 11 fractured ribs, 11, and
collapsed a lung.
True, 11. Yeah, he collapsed the lung as well. And so, why would you put him back in already if it was 3 weeks later? That's just. I'm a little bit disappointed about that. And he had an okay game, I think.
Very good.
Yeah.
Other than his completion percentage.
Yeah, that's true. Completion percentage is what got him. He threw last I saw, he threw 10 complete passes that game.
Yeah, he finished with 15.
Okay. 15. So
15 for 34, so under 50%, which isn't great. I guess honestly, I was just looking at the touchdowns because that was decent. But 15 for 34, so under 50%, 234 passing yards, which is kind of subpar. 3 touchdowns to an interception. So it seems like it was a very short intermediate day for Drew Brees. Nothing too over the top, but enough to keep him competitive, at least, whenever you're looking at it. Do I think it was too early? Yes. Like you said, the Saints, if I'm not mistaken, have already clinched the playoff berth. There's no way they can't go And the way that the Bucks are playing, if I'm not mistaken, oh no, they did come back on the Falcons today, but they almost didn't. They looked really bad against Atlanta today, and really that's all you're worried about. The Packers are up there, but I don't know if you're necessarily fighting for the number 1 seed, really. You're going to the postseason. You might as well do it. You might as well keep your franchise guy healthy, because what happens if he comes into this game and gets hurt? And then you have to run with Taysom Hill in the postseason. And, to your point, that really is kind of interesting, but it's always a better game whenever you see Drew Brees on the field. It's nice. The NFL feels right when Drew Brees is back, but, just an interesting decision. But going to the Chiefs, any other thoughts on that game whenever you're talking about?
No, not really. I did really well in fantasy, but I did this week, and 2 of my guys were Kansas City Chiefs guys, and I think Travis Kelce gave me 20 plus points in that game, so I was happy.
I've got a question for you. As I'm looking at the total stats and the breakdown of this game, 2 big things really stick out to me. One being that the Saints had almost 100 yards of penalty yards, 10 penalties for 93 yards. And then also the Chiefs held them to only 60 rushing yards. 2 things that really stand out. You don't typically see 10 plus penalties in a game, from a single team. And when Alvin Kamara is on the opposition, you typically don't see 60 rushing yards at the end of the game. Wow. Do you think this is big for the Kansas City? I mean, when you're looking at it, Kansas City's never been known to have the defense. Whenever you look at it, we've always known that their offense is amazing. Their offense is enough to outscore anybody. It's just, is their defense going to hold you off too? And right now, I mean, yeah, they still scored 29, but I mean, they held Drew Brees under 50%. They held him under 250 yards. They hold Kamara under Kamara in it. Where'd Kamara finish this game? They held the team as a whole under 60. Kamara with 54. I mean, it's just this defense for the Chiefs. I don't know if this is a one-game thing or they just played phenomenal. Are the Chiefs that good? Or do you think their defense is really that complete, or do you think this was more of a standout game?
It's December, so a lot of games turn out a little definitely. A lot of games turn out differently. So I think, those teams that are, especially on the teams that are out on the outside looking in, like the Ravens, the Raiders, and on the NFC side,
the Bears,
the Bears and Vikings and all them. I think when it comes to December, I think those games are the ones that are games that you really wouldn't expect. Also, another thought that I had is they could have learned from the Denver Broncos game as well, because that Denver's rushing game was very heavy, especially for Melvin Gordon. So they could have learned from that game when facing off against a Alvin Kamara, who is probably a better running back, in my opinion, than Melvin Gordon.
Fair enough. We're looking at so that would be the end of the afternoon games. Right now, we're just looking at a game that just kicked off between Cleveland and the New York Giants. Cleveland really fighting for a postseason spot at the top of the wild card in the AFC. And then the Giants still trying to hold on to try to get their division. What do you see previewing from this game? What are your predictions for this one?
On the running game, I know we just talked about it for the Saints and the Chiefs. On that running game, I wouldn't be surprised if both Kareem Hunt and if the 2 running backs go insane this game, but the Giants' defense is very competitive. So that's where I would look at to see how well does that running game for the Cleveland Browns do.
Do you have a winner prediction?
Yes, I'm gonna go Cleveland, and I'm gonna say 39-21.
Honestly, those points really aren't far-fetched. When you're looking at the way
Mhm.
Cleveland's been playing, they've been dropping all types of points. Yeah, I'd have to go with Cleveland as well. I think it's going to be a multiple possession game. I don't think this game's really going to be that close. And I think this will almost solidify the fact that we could be looking at a Washington football team in the postseason, which would be a nice little breath of fresh air, at least for my opinion. I would
That's
love
true.
to see. I'd love to see them make it. Again, they played the Seahawks really tough earlier today, 20-15. We saw the Giants take down the Seahawks earlier this season. So it's interesting little division out there. Even though we talk about how bad they are, a very interesting division. So
One
we're
more
wrapping
thing.
up. What's up?
One more thing.
Yes.
Daniel Jones is not starting this game. Colt McCoy is. So that's another reason why I think the Giants will lose.
Wow. There's another team who needs a quarterback, the New York Giants. But let's talk about the postseason picture here before we wrap up. We're looking at right now, we're coming up on the end of the season. We're getting ready to wrap up week 15. There's still tonight's game, and then also was a one Monday night game between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati.
Yeah, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati.
So nothing to be too excited about there, at least not in my opinion. You know, a Joe Burrow-less Cincinnati team versus a 2-loss Pittsburgh Steelers team. So regardless, going into week 16, we're really getting into crunch time here. It's getting dangerous. 2 more weeks left into the season. A lot of teams really still trying to push it into that number 7 spot. The first year we're seeing extended postseason, and it's been nothing short of exciting so far, giving fans like me some hope. So let's start on the AFC side of things. Let's talk about where we're sitting right now with the current AFC playoff picture. Right now with the Cleveland Browns playing at this moment, you're looking at them in the number 6 seed at 9-4. If they were to lose this game, they would go to 9-5, which would tie both the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens, which would be interesting. But right now, we're going to go off of the idea that, you know, we're still sitting here. We're thinking they're going to win. We're thinking they're going to walk away with win number 10, which puts them up there with the Colts. But right now, the AFC is basically looking like a 2-team race at the end of it. It's Miami and it's Baltimore, both of them sitting at 9-5. The next one behind them is the Raiders at 7-7 after dropping this week. An interesting race nonetheless. What is your prediction for the number 7 seed in the AFC?
Baltimore has an easy schedule coming up. They play the Jets, and then I can't remember who the other one was, but they play the Jets. And if the Jets, do what happened against the Rams, which that's not going to happen.
Could you imagine?
Yes. No, I'm kidding. I have the Ravens taking that 7 seed. I don't think Miami is going to make it just because of that Ravens easy schedule.
The Dolphins were able to pull off a victory today against the Patriots, which is the first time that Bill Belichick's been beat by a rookie quarterback in quite some time. Mm-hmm. A very interesting game. Obviously, when you're looking at it on paper, Miami by far the superior team, but just typically Bill Belichick's able to scheme something up to make rookie quarterbacks look like fools. I mean, we saw them beat the Chargers 45-0. I mean, it wasn't even fair. The front runner for the rookie of the year got absolutely shut down. But right now, like you said, it's so easy for the Baltimore Ravens. They're literally being handed the 7 seed on a platter. They're sitting in the 8 spot, but there is no reason they don't make it. If they are a postseason team, if they are actually a postseason team, there is no reason they don't make it, because Miami has the Raiders and the Bills, and then the Baltimore Ravens have the Jets and the Bengals to end the season. And it's just so easy. I can't imagine that the Raiders are going to lose to the I can't imagine that the Raiders are going to beat the Dolphins. Off of first look, I would take the Dolphins, but
they play the Broncos the week after.
Well, there you go. But Buffalo's clinched a spot. They're not fighting for the 1, but do they sit their starters to to have Miami? Do they start everybody to try to play spoiler for Miami? Because if Buffalo sits their starters, it's not a hard schedule for Miami either. Personally, I'm still going to go Baltimore just because I think Baltimore should absolutely wipe the floor. But right now, Miami has the tiebreaker. Miami is, I mean, they're sitting at the same exact record, and they have Miami in the 7. So currently, if they both go 2-0, if they both go 1-1, you're still looking at Miami in the postseason. I think Miami will find a way to lose to the Bills. I don't know why. It's in Buffalo, which doesn't make it any more comforting for the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to go with Baltimore too. I think they're going to slide right into that 7 seed. I don't know what more they're going to do, but right now they are getting hot at the right time. Mark Ingram has finally been put as an active, and they're finally giving all the carries to J.K. Dobbins. He's doing the most with that. He's looked phenomenal the last 2 weeks, but yeah, I'm going to go with Baltimore. So switching over to the NFC side, if I could pull this up here. I know currently the Arizona Cardinals are sitting in the 7 seed. They are currently 1 game up on the Chicago Bears, who are currently sitting at 7-7. The Cardinals sitting at 8-6. Chicago going forward has Jacksonville and Green Bay, while the Arizona Cardinals have the 49ers and the Rams. And they do have 1 game up on the Bears already. So who are you looking at right now in the NFC postseason picture?
It's got to be the Cardinals. The Vikings are just hanging on that thread, and then the Bears, they can barely make it, but the Cardinals are 8-6. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna have to go with the Cardinals.
You don't have to apologize. It's okay. Honestly, for me as a Bears fan that wants our front office and our head coach to change, it'd be better for us not to make the postseason. But it's weird. So the 49ers are one of those flip-floppy teams. They play great, they play bad, they play great, they play bad. And it's a divisional game, which always means it's going to be closer. Obviously, whenever they were healthier at the beginning of the season, they had their pieces. The Cardinals were able to not to upset, but they were able to overtake the 49ers 24-20 on week 1 of the season. It's been since week 1 since these two teams have seen each other, and it's been a long time. The Cardinals are a better team. Moto, don't hate on my Bears like that, okay? I understand, all right, but yeah, so the Cardinals against the 49ers, 24-20 in week 1. They also played the Rams earlier in the season, in which the Rams beat them 38-28. It's one of those to where if both teams were healthy, and I wish they were, this would be so good right now. If the 49ers were healthy, I would take the Cardinals losing both of those games. I really would. But right now, they're both divisional games. It's going to be interesting. The Bears should have no problem with Jacksonville, but the Bears are going to struggle with the Packers. We saw how they played against the Packers earlier on. It was absolutely embarrassing. And I want to say this time it's in Lambeau, which is going to be even worse. Doesn't make anything better for me. It doesn't make me feel good about it. I'm going to go with the Cardinals too. I hate to say it, but I'm not going to be the delusional fan. I'm not going to be the guy. I'll leave that to the Cowboys fans and Freddie, whatever team he likes. So I'll leave that to them. I'm going to be realistic here, and I don't think my team's going to make it. I really don't. As much as I'd love to see it, I just don't. I don't see it. But other than that, man, going into week 16, we have a couple more games left. Like I said, Cleveland and the Giants currently going on right now. And then tomorrow night's game between the Steelers and the Bengals. It's going to be interesting. And then we're getting really into crunch time here. We're getting into the final 2 weeks of the NFL season before the postseason. And that's when things are really going to get spiced up. So any closing thoughts here, Nate?
Yeah, I just want to give you a couple of math updates.
Oh, here we go.
The 49ers and the Lions are officially eliminated after today's slate of games.
Okay.
And I did give the update about the Titans, about how they had like 1,317 clinching cases that could go into this week. even though they beat the Lions, none of those happened.
You gotta love that. Gotta love that. Titans played absolutely phenomenal today. Dropped 46 on the Lions. I mean, that's embarrassing. But yeah, no, congratulations to the Titans for not clinching. Shout out to them. But man, interesting week so far. Very interesting week. Crunch time is definitely here, and it is now. And the NFL is going to really spice up here in just a week or so. So for that, that'll be the end of the post-game show for today's afternoon game slate. For Nate the Great, I've been Will Polston, and that is the end here on ASAP Network, and you guys can catch us next time. You guys take it easy.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so type the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.